A freezing night storm raged through the mountains, and the lonely cabin stood against the furious wind, as if it were the last shelter on earth. Inside, a single father sat in darkness with his little son asleep in the other room, unaware that life was about to change forever. The man had survived war, bullets, betrayal, and bankruptcy, but nothing had prepared him for the knock that would soon shake his entire world. When he opened the door to the roaring sound of 20 motorcycles in the snow, led by a fearless woman with fire in her eyes, destiny arrived in a way he never imagined. If you believe in kindness, destiny, and second chances, then please like this video, share it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe. Your support truly keeps stories like this alive. The single father had once been a proud Marine, a hero who gave everything to protect others, but life had taken everything from him in return. After returning from service, he discovered that his business partner had stolen every dollar he invested in a small marine supply company they built together. With nowhere to go and no savings left, he moved to the remote cabin his grandfather once owned, trying to rebuild a life for his young son. But bankruptcy, loneliness, and harsh winters made survival a daily battle. Still, he endured, living with the guilt that he couldn't give his child the life he deserved. On the other side of fate, the woman who stood at his door was a completely different storm. She was a CEO, a biker, and the leader of a loyal sisterhood of 20 women who rode with her. She had built an empire from nothing, fighting a cruel world that tried to break her at every step. When corporations blocked her, she rode through them. When men in suits laughed, she built her own table instead of begging for a seat. She became a symbol of power, respect, and rebellion. But tonight her voice was soft, her eyes carried pain, and her breath shivered in the cold air as she stood outside his door seeking shelter. The Marine hesitated, confused by the sight of powerful motorcycles lined up behind her, their headlights burning through snow. He wondered how these strangers ended up here in the middle of nowhere. Life had already taught him to mistrust, to doubt, and to protect his son above everything. He had been betrayed once. He would never allow danger near his child again. But something in the woman's eyes was different. Behind the toughness, there was exhaustion and humanity. He let them in. For the first time in months, the cabin lights stayed on through the night because it was filled with people again. The women, strong yet warm-hearted, removed their jackets, helped gather wood, and even cooked. The father watched in silence, sitting by the corner with heavy thoughts, wondering who they really were and what they were running from. The leader noticed the questions in his eyes, but didn't rush to explain. Instead, she walked through his broken home, observing the worn-out walls, the near-empty shelf, the old photographs of him in uniform holding his baby as a proud Marine. She understood struggle. She saw pain. She recognized what it meant to be abandoned by the world. The storm outside grew worse, trapping them there. Hours turned into a night, and a night turned into a day, and slowly a strange connection formed between two people who had nothing in common, yet everything in common. She noticed how he carried silent wounds that never healed. He saw in her the weight of leading people who depended entirely on her. She learned about his bankruptcy, his loneliness, and his fears for his son's future. He learned that she and her women had enemies, corrupt investors who wanted to take her company because she refused to sell it to them, and tonight those men chased them off the road, forcing them into the mountains. The father felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: purpose. These women, despite being powerful in spirit, were vulnerable tonight. He, despite feeling like a failure, was the only one who could protect them here, and something awakened in him. The Marine inside, the warrior who once stood fearless and unbroken. The next few days became a turning point. The cabin that once felt like a grave of broken dreams began to feel alive. The women laughed, cooked, fixed things, and filled the place with energy. The leader spent time outside, thinking, planning, and taking calls to save her company from hostile takeover. The father chopped wood, repaired the roof, and watched his son smile again. A smile he hadn't seen in so long. Something inside him healed. The boy bonded with the bikers, calling them aunties, while the father and the CEO shared silent conversations through their eyes, each slowly learning to trust again. But fate is not kind without testing strength. One evening, black SUVs arrived at the base of the trail. The enemies had found them. The CEO and her 20 women prepared to stand their ground, but the Marine stepped forward. He refused to let danger touch his home or the people who brought life back into it. For the first time since returning from war, he felt alive with purpose. Together, side by side, the disciplined soldier and the iron-hearted CEO formed a wall of defiance. Her women stood behind them, fierce and unshaken. What followed was a night of tension, fear, and silent praying as engines approached and darkness surrounded the cabin. But courage, unity, and truth are forces stronger than greed. By morning, the threat was over. The corrupt businessmen were exposed, the CEO saved her company, and the women were safe. The father, who once felt worthless, had become their unexpected shield. The CEO stayed back after the others rode away. She told him he wasn't a failure, he wasn't broken, he was a survivor, and survivors deserve new stories. Her words, her presence, and her strength became the spark that reignited his life. She didn't offer charity. She offered partnership. She helped him restart a business, honored his Marine skills, and gave him back his dignity. He helped her find peace beyond her empire. Their stories, once separate storms, became one shared journey. His son, once lonely, now had a family of warriors who loved him. The cabin that once echoed with silence now echoed with life, laughter, and hope. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know. Before I end this story, I have a special request. Comment below. Everyone deserves a second chance if you believe it. In the end, the Marine learned that strength is not in fighting alone, but in allowing others to stand with you. The CEO learned that even warriors need a home and a heart to return to. And together, they built something far more powerful than success. They built a family, a future, and a forever shelter, not just from storms outside, but from the storms within.